All right, so you guys have been sending in a ton of stuff about those weird drones over New Jersey. Seems like everyone's totally hooked on this whole thing.
Right.
And yeah, there's definitely something pretty strange going on there. So get this, we've got a whole wave of drone sightings, mostly in Jersey. But
Right, it seems like it's spreading.
yeah, spreading to other states too.
Yeah.
But here's the real kicker, right? These aren't just some kids messing around with those little toy drones. We're talking serious stuff here. Huge aircraft, totally silent.
And they're even evading police helicopters, which is...
Wild, right?
Yeah.
So naturally, you guys have a ton of questions. Are we talking like foreign spies,
Yeah.
secret government stuff? And yeah, why are they being so quiet about the whole thing? It's like they're trying to keep it under wraps.
Well, the number of sightings in New Jersey alone is pretty staggering, I'd say.
I know, right?
An average of 92 sightings per night, that's
crazy.
That's wild. And the fact that they're spreading to other states. I mean, there have even been reports near Washington, D.C. It really kind of broadens the scope of this whole thing, doesn't it?
Yeah, that map you sent with all the little dots showing where people have seen them, especially around places like Newark Airport,
Oh, definitely.
it makes you wonder, right? What are they doing there?
Right.
All right, so let's try to break down what we DO know about these things. You marked a bunch of articles talking about their size, like 8 to 10 feet wide.
Yeah, absolutely. And to give you a sense of scale, that's bigger than most cars out there. Not your average drone you'd see someone flying around in the park.
Definitely not.
And it's not just the size. They're described as having a fixed-wing structure, blinking lights, they're colorful, and the weird thing is they're completely silent.
Yeah, that's creepy.
They're also making these, like, really sudden movements, hovering, changing direction quickly.
So we're definitely not talking about some teenager with a fancy drone from the hobby store, right?
Oh, absolutely not. This is next-level technology we're talking about, way beyond what's available to the public, you know? It's really fueling speculation about who could be behind this and what they're up to.
I bet. Okay, one thing that really jumped out from your notes was how these drones are, like, dodging detection. It seems crazy that in this day and age, something that big can just disappear.
Right.
I mean, we've got all this fancy tech, radar, and all that stuff.
You'd think it'd be easy to spot, right?
Right. So how are drones usually detected?
Yeah.
And why wouldn't it be working in this case?
Well, think of it like this. Radar works by bouncing radio waves off an object, then it analyzes the reflections, you know.
Okay.
But if a drone is built with, like, stealth technology, it uses special materials to absorb those waves.
Ah, so it's like invisible to radar.
Pretty much, yeah. It's like something out of a movie, almost.
Like Star Trek or something.
Yeah, exactly. Then you've got those acoustic sensors. They're listening for the sound of the propellers. But these drones are silent, which could mean...
Oh, that's so weird.
It could mean they're using, like, super advanced electric motors.
Yeah.
Much quieter than those old combustion engines.
So no radar, no sound. What about cameras? Someone must be catching them on camera, right?
Well, camera surveillance can definitely help, but
Okay.
you need cameras in the right spots at the right time. And even then, a drone could be flying too high or use tactics to avoid being caught clearly. Especially at night, it gets even trickier.
Okay, so they're basically ghosts. We've got these massive silent drones. They can do all sorts of crazy maneuvers. They're popping up everywhere.
And they seem to be designed to avoid detection, yeah.
No wonder people are freaking out a little bit.
It's understandable, right? We're not talking about a few random sightings here. It's a pattern. And the fact that no one's giving us any straight answers just makes it...
Oh, yeah, it's suspicious.
Exact.
Okay, let's talk about the official response, because you've flagged some interesting stuff in your notes about what the FBI and THS are saying.
Yeah, for sure. They're basically saying there's no threat to national security, no foreign involvement, you know, telling everyone to chill out, basically.
Right.
But a lot of people aren't buying it, like you pointed out.
Yeah. I mean, even Mayor Menendez from Belleville.
Yeah.
He called the government's response, like, insulting. He said they're basically telling residents they're just imagining things.
Right. He wasn't too happy about it, that's for sure.
No, not at all. And then you've got Senator Blumenthal saying we should just shoot these things down if we can't figure out what they are.
Yeah, I mean, even the Senate Majority Leader is getting briefings about this. If it's really nothing, why all the secrecy? It's just fueling all these conspiracy theories.
Right. It's like the less they say, the more suspicious it gets.
So exactly. It's creating this information vacuum. People are just filling it with their own ideas, and some of them are pretty wild.
I've seen it all. Alien invasions, government experiments. But before we go there, let's stick to the more realistic possibilities. You had a good list in your notes. Foreign adversaries, covert government ops, or maybe everyone's just seeing things. What do you think? Where should we start?
Well, let's start with the foreign adversary angle. It's possible, right? Another country using these drones to spy, maybe checking out our infrastructure or military stuff, it's not unheard of.
True. But wouldn't the government be making a bigger deal out of it if it was a foreign threat?
Not necessarily. I mean, international relations are complicated. Maybe they're trying to avoid, making things worse or giving away what they know. It's a delicate balance.
Yeah, it's easy to forget about all the behind-the-scenes stuff going on. Okay, so what about our own government? Could these drones be ours?
Yeah, that's another possibility. I mean, governments do all sorts of secret stuff, and drones are perfect for that. Surveillance, testing new tech. It would explain why they're so hush-hush about it.
Right, but why New Jersey? And why wouldn't they try to be a little more low-key about it?
Well, it depends what they're doing, I guess. Maybe New Jersey's location is important for whatever they're up to, or maybe they are trying to be discreet, just failing miserably.
Okay, that's possible. But what about the idea that people are just misidentifying things? You mentioned an article about how our brains can play tricks on us.
Oh, absolutely. Especially when we're already a little nervous or scared. We tend to fill in the blanks, see patterns where there aren't any.
Right, like, when you hear hooves, you think horse, not zebra. But in this case, we've got tons of reports from people who seem pretty credible, even police officers.
Yeah, it's hard to dismiss all of it as just people seeing things.
Exactly.
And then you've got people like Mayor Menendez who are clearly frustrated. They're not getting any answers, and they feel like they're being brushed off.
He seems pretty sure it's something the government's doing.
Yeah, based on what he's heard, but can't say publicly, apparently.
So we're back to the transparency issue.
Mm.
Why the secrecy? Is it really just national security, or is there something else going on?
That's the big question, isn't it? It's at the heart of this whole thing. The more they try to hide it, the more suspicious people get.
Right. Makes it harder to figure out what's really going on.
Yeah, it's like trying to solve a puzzle with only half the pieces.
We know these drones are out there. We know they're weird. But the why, the who, the what they're doing.
Those are the missing pieces.
Exactly.
And the more we learn, the more questions we have.
That's what makes it so fascinating, but also kind of unnerving.
It's like there's something bigger going on, something we're not supposed to know.
Okay, so let's play devil's advocate for a second. Let's say I ask the government, top secret operation, whatever. What could be so important that they'd risk all this attention and speculation?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It could be anything, really. Testing new surveillance tech, keeping an eye on potential threats. Maybe they found something that needs to be kept super secret, to protect national security or ongoing investigations, that kind of thing.
So like a real-life spy movie. But wouldn't it be better to just tell people what's going on? Wouldn't that, stop all the conspiracy theories and panic?
In theory, maybe. But governments tend to think knowledge is power, right? If they tell everyone their secrets, it could mess up their operations.
Right. Loose lips sink ships, like they say. But at what point does the public have a right to know?
That's a tough one. It's a question for, philosophers and politicians, I guess.
Yeah, it's a big deal. With all this drone technology and surveillance stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It raises all sorts of questions about privacy, transparency, accountability.
And speaking of that, you had an article about potential regulations for drone use.
Right.
It seems like this whole situation is bringing those issues to light.
For sure, for sure. As drone technology gets more advanced and easier to get a hold of, we need some rules, right? Make sure they're used responsibly.
Absolutely. Find that balance between innovation and protecting people's rights. So what does this all mean for our listener? They've been following this story, sending us all this great stuff to dig into. What should they be thinking about as this thing unfolds?
I think the most important thing is to stay informed, but don't jump to conclusions. Keep an eye on reliable news sources, listen to the experts.
Right. Don't just believe everything you see on the internet.
Exactly. And like we said earlier, this whole situation really shows how important transparency is.
We need to demand answers from our leaders, make sure they're protecting our privacy and safety.
Absolutely. It's also a good reminder that technology can be used for good or bad. It's up to us to make sure it's used in a way that benefits everyone.
Yeah, that's a good point. We're not just bystanders in all this. We have a voice, we can ask questions, demand answers, we can help shape how these technologies are used.
Exactly. It's bigger than just drones in New Jersey. It's about how technology affects our lives, our privacy, our future.
So, to wrap up our deep dive today, we've explored this whole drone mystery, the conflicting responses from officials, and the bigger questions it raises about technology, privacy, the future. We've looked at the evidence, considered different perspectives, hopefully giving you all some things to think about.
Yeah, it's a complicated situation, and it's still developing.
Definitely a cliffhanger. So, what do you think is going on? Are we overreacting or is there something more to it? What would you do if you saw one of these things near your house? Keep those questions in mind, stay informed, and keep an eye on the sky. This deep dive might be over, but the mystery continues.
Thank you for cruising with us on Podcast Cruise. If you enjoyed this journey into the unknown, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Your support helps us bring you more intriguing and thought provoking podcasts. Stay curious, and we'll see you on the next adventure.